right. And
KAPOW!
pretty much, true to form, my dice rolling ability in these superhero games are worse than Jeb's. But, okay, so, in my defense, at least in this game, I feel like I got outguessed and not just outrolled.
Well, I did screw up that one time with the putting the wrong dice down, so that we needed to back it up a little bit. But
a couple times I think he did that in this game, and then just told me this is what he was doing, and I'm like, oh, okay.
I bumped that one die.
You didn't bump that die. He set a die on a 2-space thing, and then was like, oh, look at the reveal phase. I can't do that. If this was a tournament, guess what? You're not taking that back, jackass.
But it's not a tournament.
It is a tournament when you play with me, because I don't like to lose, and I lost again.
When we were at PAX, Mickey had bought it, and we had finished walking around the dealers for the day, and we were like, let's sit down and game. And we popped this out. We ended up playing, what, 3 matches of it?
I think you won them all.
I did.
I'm like, can't win. Buy the game, can't win. And they were all close, though. Like, there wasn't any...
Oh, yeah.
There weren't any blowouts. That's another thing that was nice about
it's
the
crazy,
game.
too, because it gets down to the line really quick. Like, I was like, oh, it'll be a couple turns before, and then all of a sudden, we're both at, like, 5 and 6, and I'm like...
Jeb has done an excellent job. You know what? Let's back up before we start talking about the game a little bit. First of all, obviously you guys know I like it because I just told you during the intro that we walked into the PAX. It was the first thing I sat down on and I bought it. I'm not going to... It wasn't a risk. It wasn't a Kickstarter risk for me where I didn't know if I was going to like the game. I had already played it, and I knew that it's simple, it's fun. The games are close, and
it's quick.
You know, and it's quick. And so I wouldn't say that I have a ton of 2-player stuff in my collection. I mean, I have a decent amount, but that was another reason I got it. This is definitely a good go-to game. It would be good for if you had like you had kids come over, like, I don't know, your nephews or something. You're like, here, let me show you this game or whatever. Or you had 2 nephews, here, let me show you 2 how to play this game. Definitely that type of thing. Very, very easy. If your spouse games, this would be super easy. If your significant other games, like...
Just no babies. No babies.
No, the really very small parts you'd choke.
No babies and no Jebs, because I flick these things around everywhere when I take them out.
They all know you're a moron, buddy.
I like the game too.
And that's enough listening to Jeb. So anyways, what is the game? We talked a little bit throughout the intro and the setup and stuff like this. We've mentioned, we've thrown out Dice Forge, we've thrown out Dice Throne. You've seen multiple episodes of Dice Throne where I have never won, and and you've watched, and there is an instructional video on Dice Throne either. So if it's that, sorry. If it's similar, Mickey, why'd you buy another game? It is kind of similar, but they did enough different with it. And probably not only the dice building, but one of the biggest things, in my personal opinion, is the secret information. In Dice Throne, you can see the rolls, you can see what's coming. You have a secret hand of cards that can change it.
But the biggest thing is, like, when it's my turn and I'm rolling, he can see what I can do, and then he could also be like, oh, he's missing that thing, I'm glad he's not doing that. But he can also plan ahead as well. So
right, like, based on the cards in my hand, I can dig for a card that might stop you, I can have a card up my sleeve that could stop you, which can dictate, like you said, what I decide to do on my board. It's not a guarantee, but, and if you're not buying this, if you can try this, try it. The shields and not knowing have a huge, oh crap, what's he gonna do? element.
Well,
to
that's
the
how
game.
our game ended
Right.
up.
If you watched us play, which you're not going to get the exact same effect because it will get edited out when we were sitting there doing nothing, trying to think, and Jeb's trying to think of what I'm going to do, and I'm trying to think of what he's going to do, and the one time when we both did the same thing is the one time where, like, for me, I don't know that it would have helped him. I can't remember. But if I would have gone all in for an attack, I would have won, and I didn't.
Oh, you would have, yeah.
So, but it didn't happen, and then Jeb got the healing factor, and it was just all she wrote. I will also I started to say it earlier. Jeb's been really good at being able to build his dice quickly and efficiently. Like, I have a hard time getting myself not to, I don't know, take a decent attack or whatever when I have it, where he has been like, I'm going to load up every side of every die that I have, try to get another action die really quickly and load that up so that he's able to hit those spots that have four elements quickly. And at least one of the games at PAX, I think he just rolled on getting like double wild cards, like
two
just
turns in a row or something like that.
Yeah, it just and that just like makes your dice pretty awesome real quick. Multiple times.
Plus 2 times 2 is crazy when you can get like the base attack of 5 and stuff.
And I think in this, if I remember correctly, even the game we just played, I think he added 3 faces at least twice, and that's a lot. That's a lot of faces to put on.
Yeah.
To like at least you're putting useful faces, and when you get to pick, then you're taking from the supply, and you're limiting what I can do, as well as making yourself better. So if you're listening, you're seeing all the, like...
Yeah.
When you talk about what the game is, I don't feel like the strategy shows as much as when you start playing.
Yeah, and one of the things I really like about the game, because I know Dice Throne every hero is unique, so you kind of have to... Every time you're playing someone new, you got to learn how they play.
You're right.
With this one, everybody has the same base actions, and their hero adds a little bit, but it's enough to make it unique so that every time I play this game, I have to kind of change my strategies.
Yeah.
Because the guy that I just played, the spoiler alert or whatever his name is.
That.
Yeah.
The spoiler. Oh, spoiler alert. Yeah.
Yeah. His ability was I could turn a blank face or I could use a blank face as muscle.
Energy.
And I was like, okay, well, when I built my action dice at PAX, I was like, well, I want to load up every side, so I have 6 sides. And then in this game, I was like, wait a second, with that ability, I can just leave one of the sides blank, and then it counts as a fist if I wanted to. Right. So in my other games, I wouldn't have done that. I would want something on all my sides.
Right.
So.
And that's a really, really excellent point about this game. The heroes and villains that you add on, there are not a whole bunch of, like, this doesn't change it so much that you're like, like you said with Dice Throne, like totally different. You've got 95% of the game is exactly the same. And they tweak it a little bit, and they tweak it a little bit more with what you start with in the health.
Yep.
And it's enough that it feels different every time, not to mention that you're not gonna roll the same thing. So every time you're trying to do the puzzle on what is the maximum that I can get out of this roll. And not only the maximum, but what is the best thing to do at this point in the game. Because that's the other thing that I think we touched on was the stress or the ramp or the excitement or whatever. Once you're about at half-life, you really are like, oh my gosh, I really need this, or I really need this, or I gotta watch out for this because...
Or when somebody swings for 14.
Well, yeah,
like,
that's it. I mean, it's like, okay, he's got enough die, so I know he can pull that off. I mean, that's one of the things you should be putting in the back of your head. How many dice do they have now? And a little bit harder to remember, but how many times have they put aside or not aside? How many times have they put more faces on the action die that they have? That's a little bit harder to track, but you should. I mean, it's not a secret when they reveal their thing on how many dice they have.
Right.
And if you rewind in your head a little bit, like, oh, I think that he has taken faces, like the last 3 turns, those dice must be getting pretty good at this point. Now all of a sudden you got to be wondering, is he going to start hitting his multipliers on either, defense or offense? So...
Well, one of the games in PAX, the guy I was playing had a built-in +1 attack kicker.
Yep.
So what I was doing was taking lots of fists and muscles and made my action die half fist, half muscle, and I did that on a couple of them.
Yeah.
And then I was also taking all the red and yellow die when I could, and since it's a finite supply, that kind of limited what Mickey could take. And
yeah,
I mean, that's a strategy you can go with. It's like if I'm taking all the attack stuff, Mickey's going to have to. It's going to be more costly for him to get bigger attacks.
Yeah, and I will say that I don't think you have. Well, so far I haven't seen it that you have to freak out about the faces as much as you have to freak out about the trait die. People start taking those trait die because don't forget you start with some, and you start with the one that is best for you. So if that other person takes, well, I shouldn't say it starts the best for you. It kind of is based on like what your character is supposed to be.
Well, like, spoiler alert started with 2 yellow, and Mickey started with a yellow, and there's only 4 yellow.
Right.
So there's only 1 left, and you're like, well, since I started with 2, maybe I should have another one.
Exactly. So. And don't forget the trait die. If you take the trait die, you automatically have a die that you have a 1 in 6 chance of getting something not blank. So there's that where you don't have to build anything, right? So granted, if you do run out of the one you want, then all the other ones are kind of sucky because you I think some of them don't even have one of the symbols, right?
Yeah, like the blue one doesn't even have the muscle or the windy arrow.
And so there's a cheat sheet inside there, so you can look. But you get my point. Like the trait die when they start getting sucked up. If you're like, oh, I'm gonna get another red die. Oh no, I'm not. So, anyways, definitely super fun, quick, easy game to play.
Yeah, it's easy to pick up and play, and then you get enough of that, well, I gotta think towards the end. So it's not like it's super light and I don't have to do anything, and it's not like I'm sitting here racking my brain the entire time.
No, if it would have been like, we didn't even play with the heroes, and I knew enough that I was gonna like it.
Yeah.
When we demoed it, I was like, oh, you're gonna throw a hero on this. I mean, it was fun even with just the regular board. So, anyways, and getting picked up by a bigger company, it seems inevitable that they're going to do expansions. I could even
started doing the campaign stuff with Hero and Star Realms.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Yeah. I mean, since it's White Wizards, they might be already plotting, hey, wait a second, we can make a co-op out of this, or a campaign, or, self, like self-playing villains, or however you want to say, like they do in Hero Realms, like the hero does, I mean, the monster does all the self mechanics. I don't know, how do you say that?
The monster.
It has like an AI, right, automated. So, anyways, I'm kind of babbling at this point.
He babbles when he likes it.
I do. I babble when I like it because I try to hit every aspect that I think you guys might be interested in, and they covered a lot of good things in it. Things to remember, it's pretty straightforward, and there's cheat sheets right on your screen. with the order of stuff.
Yeah,
and
you don't gotta be Jeb. You can actually say the correct phrases for all the symbols.
Yeah, and it tells you the order of how to do things. You might need to look up a couple things, how they work in the rule book. They're there. Sometimes they're a little bit harder to find because you're not used to looking at things in comic book form, and it literally is written in. It has the rule book's written in a lot like Sentinels of the multiverse, which I guess you could say this has a little bit of that feel too, but not anywhere close to the same type of game, in my opinion.
Right.
Way closer to Dice Throne than that. It is my personal opinion. We mentioned it during, I don't know what it was. I think when we were going over setup, I had talked about something that Jeb and I got confused on. So I'll elaborate on that now, because it was like the only thing that I don't know why either of us didn't get it. So there's one spot on the power up board that says you can take two faces and then swap them with two faces.
Right.
And I think the detail on it is does it say it? It says, I think it says supply on there, right?
Yeah, faces with pool.
With
Exchange
pool.
2 faces with pool.
Right. So there's a couple things that weren't totally clear for us. So pool wasn't registering in either of our heads. And when we went back and read the rules, there's a section that says at the end of the power-up phase, you can switch any faces on your die that you have. You can just switch the faces. I'm like, then why in the world do you need that? Why would I spend a die on that power-up spot of it? I mean, attack and defense is done. It does me literally no good. The distinction is, and probably you guys probably smarter than me and have already figured it out, they're talking about swapping faces on the die that you already possess, not switching them with a pool. And they're talking about faces that contain something too. It doesn't mean you can take a blank face off and then go get a new one. Like, it has to be a face, not a holder, a space holder face. So not a gray one. All right, so then we had an aha moment, and we were like, oh, okay. So in other words, like, you're rolling your die, and you're like, hey, wait a second, I don't like the distribution on that. Like Jeb was talking about, his plot with the fists and the muscles. He was like, well, hey, what if that came to him, mid-game or something? He's looking at his dice, and he's like, oh ho, if I switch these around, I can really load this one die up. That's what the end portion of the power-up phase. That is literally like, I don't like having all these shields on now. I'm going to take all my shields off right now, put them all with fists, and I'm going for a huge swing this next turn. That's the distinction. Other thing important to note that we didn't, until we asked that question, and I think it was in the rule book too, but we found out that all those faces are collectively like in a pool that you own, so you can keep getting faces even if you don't want to put them on your die.
Yep.
This is important to note because, and I believe Jeb played the character, there's a character that makes you get a choice, and it says get rid of a face or get rid of health.
Yep.
So if I had a big pool of stuff that I didn't care about, I could toss faces. Or if I had a big pool of stuff, I could constantly be changing my die around to do different things.
That's all behind the screen.
And that's all behind the screen.
So I wouldn't know. Like, I know he'd have a big pool, but I wouldn't know what he changed.
We haven't seen any. The game plays pretty fast, so we haven't seen a situation where anybody was able to do that. But it is important to note that those faces are, like, say you wanted to, if you were lucky enough and you were able to take all the wilds, you're allowed to hold them.
Oh yeah. Yep.
So it's certainly a strategy. I feel like you'd be getting slapped in the face if you tried to focus on that too much.
Yeah.
But again, Something that we didn't notice, I think that was the only component of the game that I really was like, oh, I had an aha moment.
Well, same with me, because I didn't know. I didn't catch it.
Yeah, and then the pool, and neither of us were even thinking about, oh, I can just take faces and keep them for myself.
Yeah.
You don't even have to, like, when you gain a face, you don't even have to put it on your die. I think there's some of them that say you need to replace it at the time.
But the ones that just say gain a face or gain two faces.
You can just, evidently, according to what we were told, you can just put it in your pool until you decide to use it. I guess if you were trying to be really, really sneaky, I mean, I'm not paying attention to where he's putting his stuff, but if somebody was actually watching you, you could literally take it aside, put the screen back up, and then start the whole end phase of that when you're allowed to move things around, place the new ones. So that was the only part of the rule book that we had a question on. Probably would have made perfect sense to somebody else. I don't know why we were having brain farts at that point. It was pretty early in the convention, and we didn't even have any booze. So I don't know. Maybe we were just tired. It was day one. So
into day one, walking through all the stuff. Yeah,
walking through all the stuff. So, anyways, that is KAPOW. I have no idea at this point if it's available on anybody's site. But if you do get a chance to play it with a buddy, I would highly recommend trying it. It's pretty fun.
I thought I read something about it in 2020. They're trying to get something out. I don't know if it's early 2020 or what. So.
All right. Well. So. That's all I got for that. You have any 2 cents that you're gonna add?
Nope.
5 cents?
No, I don't have any.
Quarter?
Cents. No.
Kind of a dollar?
I got wood and nickel. If you enjoyed the episode, please like and subscribe, because we like to hear the feedback and to know that people are actually listening to us.
Yeah, wait a second. How many subs do we have?
It's $7.99 this morning.
Wait. Maybe we hit 800.
As of recording?
Yeah, as we're recording. I can't find YouTube. There it is. Don't say goodbye yet. I'm looking this up for the fans.
I was going to say, if there's any games you want to see or just let us know, you can check out our library. We've got a ton of different games that we cover. And we've got some, what are they called? Campaign type things like Gloomhaven. We've got like 40 episodes of those. So we've got all kinds of stuff like that. So.
And we are still at $7.99. Be that 800.
By the time this actually gets uploaded, the person will be like, they're at 801.
Or $7.96. It happens.
We've had those kind of months. So, I think that's about it for me. So
that's it. Till next time.
See ya.
Boards and Booze, Booze and Boards with Mickey and Jeb.